What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we built Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. Back on. Welcome to the breakdown, episode 717. Man, I can't believe I've done so many fucking episodes. If you think about it, I can't believe I've done so many episodes. Well, welcome back. We'll have Charles Hoskinson on today. Why do I always butcher his name, I think. I don't know. Charles will be on. Co-founder of Ethereum, founder of Cardano, and the creator of Midnight. And yes, I am also still, I am now serving a suspension of 3 days on TikTok. It's my fault. It's my fault for what happened. It's absolutely my fault. Also, shout out to Polymarket. Polymarket is the official prediction market sponsor of the DG brand. So shout out to Polymarket. I really do get some of my news from Polymarket. I really do. It's instantaneous news. Maybe we'll bring somebody on from Polymarket and chop it up about the platform and also prediction markets. Ladies and gentlemen, yo, this sound effect is probably the worst sound effect in the world. That's right. You want a new Nissan Altima. It really does sound like one of those TV shows. Cake Wallet, one of the most secure wallets in our industry. You'll hold Bitcoin on Monero or Litecoin. Shout out to Litecoin. They give me a follow back. That must mean something. If you go hold any of those three assets, you better go ahead and use Cake Wallet 100% and use Cake Pay. I'm gonna break that down. I'm gonna do a little video on Cake Wallet. I think it deserves a lot more spotlight. So watch out for that video when it comes out. Maybe we can bring Vic on this month, or maybe next week. Quad Network. The sponsors. Okay. Market's looking like absolute dog shit. Okay, let's just start it off. People crying on the timeline. People talking about they're getting their resumes ready. They're putting it on Indeed.com. Man, we got some bitches in this space. We got some real. This is what I tweeted out today. God damn it, man. As soon as I say that, it disappears. Hold on. I said, stop crying about the market. Some of the best assets in this industry are sitting at prices people are going to wish they bought. And it's so true. But most won't. They'll wait until everything is green. The timeline is fucking celebrating. And you know how it happens when the green candles hit. And the easy part is already gone. Then they'll say they'll never get a chance. They never had a chance. You did. This is your chance. What the fuck is wrong with me today? I'm honestly feeling like Biden lately, man. But seriously, it's like people complain that they don't have a chance. Here's your chance. You're complaining that it's over. When it goes up, you'll be complaining you never had a chance. Make up your mind. Either you want to be here, either you believe in these assets, or you don't. Just bail. If you don't believe in this shit, if you don't believe in crypto, then leave. The door's open. Nobody's stopping you. I don't know why my timeline is broken. I don't know why. My timeline is broken. Why is it broken? Why is my timeline broken? I have no idea. Landy's always I'm in the middle of my monologue, and Landy has to go ahead and hit me with lovely news. You know what? I'm used to it. I'm used to my timeline being fucked up. I don't know why I pay $3,000 a month to X. I guess I pay X $3,000 a month for pain and suffering. It's actually probably more than that. Anyway, as I was saying, if you don't like crypto, just leave. All you do is you come on the timeline and you bitch. You bitch all day. You do nothing about changing the course of your life. I'm muting motherfuckers now. I'm actually going to mute motherfuckers that come onto the timeline. It's not people giving a different perspective. It's people that don't believe in this industry at all. They don't believe in it at all. So what are you doing here? Literally is the question, what are you doing here? Why are you even here? Leave. Go. Seriously. You're like a bad case of heartburn. Just won't leave. Seriously, it's so fucking annoying. Like, you know, this is a fucking phenomenal industry. It's a phenomenal space. It's choppy right now. Again, I don't know if it's may go away or stay for a few minutes because we're about to go to Valhalla. I don't know what's happening right now. But sit back and just, get into these things. The shit that you talk about constantly. Stop going into these zombie tickers. That's why your mood's all fucked up. You're going into these spray and pray fucking assets that are not even assets, tickers that are coming off a pumped out fund, and then you're like, oh shit, why am I losing? Why am I even getting angry, man? You guys are the ones that will be left fucking poor and shit. I shouldn't be getting angry at all. That's on you, man. That is literally on you. Have fun staying poor, bro. Have fun staying poor. Hold on, I want to just link something up here. Landy always comes to give me good news. You guys, I am not letting anybody in no more into the green room. That's it. I was on a killer monologue, man. Killer monologue. Your timeline's fucked up. I don't give a fuck. Just let me fly. I don't care. They can take my account down. I'm used to it. I am so used to TikTok warning me every single fucking day for breathing. Yes, I know I'm you're suspended on. You know what? Landy's not coming on here today. Landy is suspended from my show. Landy is fucking suspended from my show today. I'm not suspended on TikTok. What are you talking about? I am in the penalty box for the next 3 days on TikTok. But I thought he said my account suspended. I was fucking almost fainted. I almost fainted. We'll touch on a lot of stuff. X does seem to be broken. I'm not. There's no doubt about it. X does seem to absolutely look broken, and my account looks like absolute trash right now. So it is what it is. I don't give a fuck. Anybody who's tuning in, thank you very much for tuning in. We'll have Charles on at 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll chop it up about Cardano, midnight. We'll even talk about it. I got a lot of things that I want to ask him, and obviously, you know, Charles dives in and he's surgical with everything. So we'll sit back and we'll have a good time. Okay, there you go. I posted it out there. Don't worry, everything's gonna be all right. I don't ever get angry. Somebody said in the comments, "No, I never get angry. Nothing to be angry about. I'm happy. I am a happy person." I, by the way, did a podcast yesterday /X Space. First time in fucking years. I guess it feels like that. Did that with Mexi. I was a little bit nervous because I'm just, honestly, I'm really not good about talking about myself. You might have that perception that this guy is mad, cocky, arrogant, and he loves to go ahead and talk about himself. Maybe on my show, maybe when I glance at the monitors and I see, oh my God, like I have to catch myself at times. Look at this sex symbol and shit. But I really do hate doing interviews. I decline a lot of podcasts, and I really do decline a lot of podcasts because I just don't like talking about myself. Let other people talk for me, good, bad, or indifferent. But that was fun. Shout out to Mexi. She's doing big things over there. Glad to see her getting back on her feet and doing amazing things and pushing forward. That's what you love to see, man. That's what you love to see. And for those who are tuning in, hopefully you'll tune in onto YouTube for the time being while I serve this 3-day ban for using the R word. I do not apologize because there's nothing to apologize for. Because the R word means something totally different to me than it means to them. But I will not use it on TikTok, and I will refrain to use it on here. Because if I use it on here, it's connected to TikTok, and then at this point, I don't really give a fuck if I go back on TikTok. How about that? At this point, I'm gonna just tell all that big audience that we have on TikTok, I'm gonna ask them to move over to Kick. Because Kick ain't gonna kick me off, pun intended. Okay? They're not gonna kick me off. That is crazy, man. I think it's gotten worse since this sale. I think it really has gotten worse since this sale to who took over? An American company? This has gotten worse. It really has gotten worse. Let's go ahead and pull up a good site. Let's go ahead and pull up a good site. I know what site I'm going to pull up right now. Give me a second. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up the goddamn site right here. All right. Guys, I encourage you to go to gmarkets.io. Okay. Go to gmarkets.io and support a real network. Bitcoin is at 7. Is it at 74? Hopefully, imagine my shit is all fucked up right now. Hold on one second. Let me refresh this. Okay. Bitcoin is at 72,666. Oh, get rid of the 666. Get rid of the 666. Man, Bitcoin is at 72,666. I mean, again, like, this is opportunity. This is nothing to panic over. Everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to be just fine. Maybe everything starts up in September. Enjoy your summer. Go get a tan. Well, fuck. You see, I can't say a lot of these things because a lot of you guys don't even go outside. But if you do go outside, if you do open the door to go outside, then go out and get a tan. Go get some air. Get some vitamin D, no diddy. Like, just go out, about, live life for the time being. Come back in September and see if anything's changed. I've done all my winning. Seriously, I've done all my winning by DCing. That's it. I've really done all my winning by DCing. That's it. And that is the way I work it. I DCA. I don't have time to trade charts every 5 minutes. I don't have time. Look, even with shitcoining, I don't even have time. Like, I get bored, man. Like, I don't want to sit here, look at 1 second charts, okay? Catch panic attacks, lose hair over like 3 Solana or some shit. Like, no. DCA into real assets. And by the way, there are a lot of oversold assets on our market that you can get. I can name them off. Cardano, Filecoin will be on here. Chainlink. There are so many things that are just out there that you can get into. Hedera, whatever. Like, just a ton of shit that you can get into that I know that's going to pop. That I know they're going to pop off. I know that, I feel it in my gut that that's going to happen. By the way, I have to apologize to Rob Nelson. I went onto his show yesterday and I absolutely destroyed him. And I feel bad. So I apologize, Rob, to you. Rob's only comeback was look at my microphone and the way I hold it. I don't know where he was going with that. Maybe that it was some, Anyway, let's bring Landy on for 15 minutes here to break down the markets. Then we have Charles coming on. Then we might have somebody else coming on. And then Friday, we will have Rob going against Landy in a one-on-one debate. Well, they'll go ahead and just yap about Iran and nuclear weapons and shit. But Landy, good morning to you. What's going on?
Hey, David. Good morning.
Good morning, fucker.
Yeah,
my monologue. I was on point. Like I'm hitting it from all angles. Relax. I ain't talking about sexual shit, but I'm hitting it. I can't even say this. I am on my game, is what I'm saying. Everything's coming up sexual right now, man.
Well, here's I couldn't figure out why
do you have the urge to come in here and fuck up my day, man?
Because I didn't know you were live. I really didn't know you were live.
What the fuck do you mean you don't know I was live?
No. On X, it's not. It wasn't showing anything outside of a link instead of the actual video player with the show in it like normal. So I was like, what the hell is going on here? And
unreal.
I don't understand what that's about. That's a little odd. And I looked at the timeline and I'm like, wow, this is broken.
Maybe they got
why
me.
This is broken.
Maybe they're done with me. I don't know.
No, I think it's the way that this stream is being populated in the in through X's back end there. I think something has to be fixed.
One day my stream is working and people see it, and then the next day, like, half the people don't. Like, I'm done. I am absolutely done. And one thing that I will be doing is next month I am moving over to YouTube and Kick. I will
Yeah.
still stream to X, but I have to. Like I
Yeah.
can't the every no no I'm being serious here real quick before we get into the markets. Guys, anybody who's tuning in or will replay this show, I have to move over. I can't one day like, it's great, the next day the algorithm I can't play this game. I need to make sure that people see my show. And that's bottom line. As much as I love X and formerly known as Twitter, like I can't play this game. Uh, I just don't understand it. I'm not with it. That's it. So you'll find me on YouTube, and what YouTube gives you warnings, man. So I'll be good there. I mean, they'll give me warnings that won't take me off. And then you have Kick, which is the fallback for me. Shout out to Getter, but again, Kick, you know, I'm with the partnership program there, so it just makes a lot of sense. So that's really it. I can't pray that my show is going to work on X. Like I just can't. I can't come on here praying that it's going to work. So, and people are going to see it, and you people will come in and that's not good business. That's fucked. That's like opening up a Prada store uh, and hiding it on a corner under a train station in New York City. Like you don't operate that way. Anyway, markets look like absolute garbage.
Yeah.
It looks
mean,
like it threw up, like
Well,
completely. It's nasty.
crypto markets look that way for sure.
Yeah, not the
It just
traditional markets, but
yeah,
crypto does.
yeah.
Yo, that's pretty. That's a good point. Before you go, you know, my assets in the traditional markets have been doing phenomenal. They're like
Mhm.
you can't hear me complain about anything when it comes to any of my assets in the traditional markets. But goddamn crypto, bro. This shit is just absolute ugly.
Yeah, it's not pretty. Um, and this is this is where, for a while, I was being very loud about, there still being a fully intact cycle, and cycles still matter. And, I got a lot of hate for it, but this is how we're seeing it play out in price action now when it comes to Bitcoin, and by virtue of that, the rest of the crypto markets. And a little bit of a callback to yesterday, a lot of this is distribution of supply. There's a lot of people in crypto, a lot of whales in crypto that have been here for a very long time that distribute on a schedule, right? And that hasn't changed. And they're not like it's not like fully distributed, right? There's still very large OG whale holders in all of the crypto space, not just Bitcoin, that are distributing into these new vectors for liquidity, which is the institutional players. And the back and forth that you and I had yesterday, I think that it illustrates something that I think that there was a bit of cognitive dissonance coming into the bull market, up into the highs, where it was a lot of excitement about institutions coming in. And then there was those of us who were warning, like, look, this is going to change things in the ways that I don't think people are going to expect. And in this case, cycle theory is still intact. We have a lot of long-term, uh, very large holders on all of these chains. And as these institutional players come in, they are going to distribute to them. And they're going to distribute to them on a cadence that has been, mapped out you know, since really Bitcoin became a hit. So, um, when it comes to the network itself, when it comes to price action, we're seeing things play out pretty much as expected. And in this case, I think that, you know, much of the frustration that you're seeing in the crypto space revolves around, um, the underperformance versus other things, in the wider traditional market sphere and commodities, right? Whether you're looking at gold, silver, whether you're looking at traditional markets, um, I think that the frustration is setting in, But I also believe that that same frustration is going to continue when it wouldn't be warranted anymore. So we're going to see people continue to get frustrated um, when we do finally get a macro low in markets. And you're going to see that a lot of people still remain frustrated and then continue to scream, okay, it's over. And then just like every cycle, it will immediately start ripping back to the upside, go into its bull market, and then they're going to miss out again. So, just be present. That's really the big thing here. Um, I do have a chart to share with you, mainly because I think that we are now approaching the very, very, very important levels that you and I have discussed here. Since the highs, just for reference, for those that maybe haven't seen me chart before, um, the highs up here, this line right here, a little bit tough to see, but it is 82 and a half to $83,000, depending on where you're charting. In this case, it's 82 and a half on spot. This is the last higher low close on a monthly time frame for the bull structure for Bitcoin. We saw that tested. The next area below was a major weekly level that had already had already been hit when Bitcoin was trading or traded down to $80,000. There's a big weekly there, 78 to 80, that Bitcoin was trying to hold up in. After losing that area, we've been looking at 76 to 74 here. We got 76. Nice little bounce up, but failed to reclaim overhead, and then a move down to $74,000 in yesterday's candle. I've been warning about this, that if we saw 74 break down, the next big area to pay attention to is this zone down here between around 70,500 to 72.2. I've mentioned, and people are getting sick of me saying this, but that's where the rubber hits the road for the bulls. Because below there, that would be a reclaim of the low side structural area for Bitcoin in terms of price action. And then the SOS, or save our shit level, is right here at 68 to $69,000 or so, which just so happens to be the prior cycle all-time high, right? So it's 69K. We also had the first trend break off of the lows at $65,000, which was the very first high put in last cycle. So we have 65, essentially 68 to 69, which are the two highs from the prior cycle. And then all the levels on the way up on the monthlies and weeklies that Bitcoin has been just methodically hitting pretty much perfectly, consolidate, bring a, hit this one, continue to the next one, come back down for support, continue to sweep it, and then right up to monthlies, and then very methodically back down through these levels. So my point being is that if we start to see this level below us right now on Bitcoin drop, it's SOS. And probably I would say the whole zone for the lows is fair game below this level here, between around, you can call it 70,000 to 72 if you want. More refined on lower term time frame, 70,500 to 72.2. But point being is, if we start getting down here, that would be a bear reclaim of the lows, highly likely targeting 68 to 69K. Psychological level, also a key level that was the trend change off of another key level that led to the nice big move up. If that's lost, lows are back in play. 58 to 60 is in play. The bottom side of this range, 62 and a half to 65K, is in range, and potentially more on any kind of a leg down. Now, I've told you prior that while we could potentially see Bitcoin consolidate and start to try to form a macro low around the $60,000 low, if we start to drop it, we're looking for another leg down. That's not viable right from here, right now. It's just a matter of watching price action. In fact, Bitcoin has a good chance, if markets continue to stay green on the traditional market side, if oil cooperates and continues to head down, you want to see Bitcoin holding up at these levels, or basically coming into support, using those as support as wider markets continue to perform well. That would bode a little bit better than not. But this is a daily downtrend. right? So we are just taking it methodically, one support at a time for Bitcoin at this particular moment. I will say there's nothing that has changed my mind about my thesis as it stands right now, or invalidated my thesis in looking for another leg down for Bitcoin. Of course, when I say that, that also means for all of your other favorite cryptocurrencies. The way that that changes is if Bitcoin can hold up well at some of these levels here and start to carve out a low. And I think it's going to take time, even if that were going to happen in the most bullish scenario where, let's say, 60K was the low. That would take time. And realistically, I'm still looking at this as bearish retests of prior supports, and then a move back to the lows and potentially lower. But as it stands right now, Bitcoin's still not in trouble just yet. But if we start to see 70,072 being traded towards that zone below here, you need to pay very close attention to how Bitcoin reacts, right? And then what you need to do is you need to start watching daily closes, because if it does hang on to that area as it stands at this particular moment, it would have to actually close back above $78,000, which is just below this major weekly level overhead that Bitcoin just lost, to actually change or break the trend and begin to start looking for any kind of a trend change rather. So it would break the trend. You look for a trend change after that potentially. But one of the things that I think that we're starting to see is that the apathy is really setting in this market for cryptocurrencies and the highest risk vectors of the market, because in the environment where we've seen a beautiful V recovery in traditional markets, the defiance of traditional markets to the spike in oil, right? You got the initial sell off as a response, right? But then just every, spike that we get in oil, little correction, big run after that. And we've seen that over and over again in traditional markets. And a lot of people are looking at cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and going, well, I guess the yesteryears are gone. And it's like, there's declaring things dead, or the entire crypto sector dead, I think is a little silly, and also I think a bit cheeky on their part. But in this case, every time that we have seen oil spike back up since the lows came in for SPY, for instance, this is one of my shorter term time frame charts where I've been illustrating a few things. But since then, every time that oil has, um, you know, spiked up a little bit, we've gotten just red days, right? And then maybe a little red consolidation, a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a correction, a little bit of a correction the other day. And people are getting really apathetic about Bitcoin and crypto. And honestly, this is when you want to be here, because it's all about hunting value. If you're chasing right now, if you're just now looking at traditional markets and going, oh, well, they're doing so much better, I should get in over there. Well, you're FOMOing at that point, and you're not actually buying value. The time to buy value was on the big old downtrend, the massive sell off, right? And it's no different in the crypto space, whether it's Bitcoin or your favorite altcoins. When you see the bigger moves down, give it some time to develop, but understand that opportunity is abound. And when things do eventually rebound, even if we take another leg lower, like significantly lower in price action, below the current lows, that's all opportunity. And things will catch up, and we will see an outperformance versus everything else. How long that outperformance lasts remains to be seen. But I get where people are coming from in terms of their take and their sentiment. But that's how things should be. Sentiment should be low when we are in a bearish period.
Well,
Um,
a lot of people are looking at, Trump comes out and says that, under Trump, crypto will be great. He bashed Gary yesterday.
yeah,
He's bashed the anti-crypto army.
yeah,
Uh, people see all this good news that comes out. Clarity Act is, the Clarity Act might be passed I don't know, in the next few weeks. Uh,
It'll pass next week for the past
correct.
however many months, right?
But then you got, you just got a lot of, you got SpaceX and Tesla. They're still holding their Bitcoin. I mean, all this news that keeps coming out
Yeah.
is bullish news, but it's kind of like the saying here in cryptos. There's like bullish news doesn't mean that the shit's gonna go up.
Well, yeah, and but
But
I wanna
I
pinpoint
think
something right
1010,
there.
I
Go
think
ahead.
1010, I don't think we've recovered from 1010.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing. We could say every single peak in a bull market, you can say the same exact thing. We didn't recover from that period. But here's the thing that I
No, but I
believe.
really think that 1010 really,
Well,
really hurt.
I
Like I don't
David,
remember an event like that you can compare. Like
David,
me and you will
I
disagree
told
on this shit,
you
but 1010 was horrific.
it wasn't even that bad,
Okay.
in comparison to other cycles, but it was
1010 was
a
horrific to me
shock
because it
to
felt like it
people.
was an insider thing. Like I'm
It
not
wasn't.
okay.
People are making that up.
Okay.
And how if it was an insider thing, then I must be an insider because I called 123 to 125 for a very long time before it ever got there, well before 1010. And I'm not some crystal ball holder.
Did anybody
I'm
call
not
1010?
I called the highs at 123
Did
to
you call
125.
did you call
I was
1010?
looking for the dump off from the highs. So you could say, I guess I called it.
Okay, okay.
I have multiple videos. I was here on your show talking about all of this. And people make up a narrative when they don't understand what's going on. It's
No,
like
that's not like not everybody doesn't understand what's going on.
they don't. The people
We
the
have a
purveyors
we
of
can
that
have a
narrative
difference of
don't know what they're
opinion.
talking about.
Everybody can have a difference of opinion, Landy.
No, it's not a
Doesn't
difference
it
of
doesn't mean
opinion.
your opinion can't
There's
be
objective right and wrong, and they
okay.
were wrong.
I have a difference of opinion than you do. It doesn't make me feel that does not make
Okay.
me stupider than you. Like or my
No, no,
IQ is
no.
not up there with
The
yours. Like I'm
people who are the purveyors who claim to be experts about what happened on 1010 are purely speculating. They're speculating. They don't know what actually happened. 1010 wasn't even the mass liquidation event. It was a very large liquidation event. All of the rest of it happened. You know how much Bitcoin miners moved that month alone? 210,000 Bitcoin, right? Who are you going to point the finger at? Remember, it was Jane Street not too long ago. Price is going down because every morning at 10 a.m., Jane Street dumps it. And then it's that person, and it's the market makers, and then it's this, and then it's that. It's always finger pointing.
I'm just going to tell you this is the reason why it will still take a massive amount of time for people to get into crypto.
Well,
You can have your own, you can have your theories and you can present them, and it's fucking awesome. But there are people that will not go into this space. And I'm not talking about people with little money. People with big money will not go into this space for that reason. This is
people
an
with
unstable environment.
okay. Well,
You want, if you, where would you rather go right now? I'm just going to make it very easy. Would you rather invest in the traditional markets, or would you rather go into crypto?
first of all, that's not an either or answer
It
because I'm
is
in
an either
both.
or answer
No, it's
because
not.
I'd rather, if
I'd
I have money and I have no,
Would you
if
rather go in at all-time highs in traditional markets, or would
I,
you rather buy value in other
I
markets?
rather go into brands that I know. And I've
Okay.
talked about that numerous times. This is the shitty job that I keep on talking about that crypto has done with their products.
Okay.
Nobody
Well,
knows what the fucking product is. It has a weird name. It has faceless people running the show. I have no clue what the fuck it does and how it generates revenue. So
that's
I'm
why
going to go to
institutions are
Tesla.
productizing it.
That's why I'm going to Tesla. I will go to Samsung. I will go to Apple way before I go into anything here. I'll take a. This is how they probably think. I'm taking a flyer here.
Well, the largest institutions on the planet aren't just taking flyers.
That's
Um,
great. Great for them.
and
Like I
I would
said,
like
they'll
to
have the keys to the they'll have the keys to the car.
I wanna roll back to actually address something that you said. You said that, you have a pro crypto president. There's a lot of good news and all of that stuff. You know what happened in this space after Trump got elected? people started saying that there's cycle theory is over, cycles are over, no more bear markets, you're going to miss out. And everyone kept pushing that
I was
narrative
one of them.
for over a year.
I don't believe in cycles.
You're in
I
a
was one
bear
of them. I was
cycle.
one of the people
It's
that
right
said
in
that.
front of you, right? But my point is because that was
I
the
don't know what
narrative throughout
this is. I
crypto.
don't. I actually do not know what this is. Like the previous cycles looked way better than this shit.
No, they didn't.
Okay.
Just open
So
up the chart and zoom out. All you
the
got to do
sen-
is zoom out.
I am just I know about the whole zoom out theory. Okay, like all I'm saying is I told you this yesterday. The sentiment is not the same like it was in previous markets.
And I
Maybe it
wanted
is to you,
let me
but to
finish what
me,
I was saying then, because I wanted to
I'm not.
address that.
Okay, go for it.
My whole
Go.
point is about the sentiment. People talking about the pro crypto president and crypto is going to be back. Finally, all the chains are off. It became a narrative that defied any type of cycle theory. So everybody was, this is all of crypto. All of crypto moved in this direction of, hey, because of all of these things, price can't go down, cycles are dead. And here we are in a very clear downtrend. And there was people like me that caught a lot of crap all over the place for warning people coming in above $100,000 when I said I'm looking 123 to 125 around this time, Q1 to Q2, we're probably going to be going into a bear market.
Hold on one
And
second. Let
people
me
were
just
like,
address the
cycles are
crowd.
done.
Did you time restrict my posts? No. I don't know what the fuck is going on in X. I hardly know how to log on to X. And you're asking me if I restricted your post. Sorry, go for it.
There's no, yeah, I don't see that.
Fucking, what are you
So
talking about?
I didn't know you could do that.
Why the fuck would I
And
restrict your post, man?
but here's the biggest thing that I I caught a lot of crap for being the squeaky wheel when this narrative was building, right? Because when we look back here, right, when you have the institutions, we had the run up into the institutions. This was just prior to the spot ETFs launching in 2024, right? What happened? We head down, we consolidate. Everybody's like, okay, headed into the election into 2024, headed into the election into November, what happens? We break out of this long form downtrending consolidation, which was a bullish structure. We get the confirmation that, hey, the crypto president won. And then from then on out, the narrative was cycles are over, big money is here, all the chains are going to be taken off of this. We can finally accelerate forward. No, you're going to miss out. This is going to be, we heard super cycle, we heard all this stuff. And I was one of the squeaky wheels. You know it. That's one of the reasons why you keep me around. There's good reasons.
Oh my
And
God, bro.
what did I tell everybody? The cycles aren't over. You can't have an end to a cycle when you have the overwhelming majority is large long-term OG holders on every single network. You're still going to see the cycles play out, and everybody's got a clock. Whether you're looking at people trading on crypto native exchanges, miners, whether you're looking at communities, everyone's got a clock. They're looking for the Bitcoin to altcoin alt season. They're looking at the 4-year cycle, and everyone can point the fingers, but and say it's no, it's dead, it's dead, it's dead. But the reason why sentiment is so low is because sentiment got way out over its skis right at the highs.
Landy's now paying people to be in the comments. Go ahead.
I'm paying people. Oh, I see that. But that's why the sentiment is the way it is. That's why the backlash is we've got a pro crypto president, but price keeps going down. It's like because you fooled yourselves into believing something that wasn't real and you ignored the people who were telling you you need to be looking over here at these things, how things are moving on chain, who's doing what and how and make a thesis based on that and not based on how you feel about future things that haven't happened. We still don't have clarity. We don't have a Bitcoin reserve, the treasury accumulation for the Bitcoin reserve stuff. We don't have any of these things here yet. They're not here yet. We have large institutional players here. And then that became the narrative of every single week, people just looking forward to, well, clarity might be this week. It might be this week. It might be this week. What about the Bitcoin Act? Bitcoin Act, Bitcoin. It's not here. These things take time. And meanwhile, while all of that is taking its time, the cycle is still the cycle. And we're still on a cadence for the run up to the moves back down. We're in fact, the crazy thing is, to the day, I believe the cycle played out to the actual day. And I was one of the few people that talked to you about this. I said to you that I was looking for $123,000 to $125,000 for Bitcoin. And I said, I'm willing to keep the door open for us to get continuation, but I'm looking for a local top there. And I pointed out all of the reasons why. I pointed out the reasons why we got our first downside expansion last cycle. We got our first compression to re-expansion to the upside. I was looking for things to start stalling out around 123 to 125. I told you this off of the lows at $74,000 or so, right? When we were talking about this, I said, I'm just going to call local. I'm keeping my mind open that there is always the possibility that this is a macro compression and maybe this won't be the macro high. But I was also very explicit that if we dropped $74,000, that's no longer the case. This is a macro top. There's no denying that. Now, the door is still open in this compression for Bitcoin to do what the bulls would love to see, and that is just come down, deviate this nice uptrend, find a nice lower low, and then come out of the compression back to the top side. That absolutely could happen, but that would be atypical. And we've seen a lot of atypical things occur this particular cycle and the entire run up. This is the first time that we had long form consolidations on the run up to the brand new all-time highs. When you look back here, we have off of the bear market low, one big long-term consolidation to a retest, and then it was just absolutely parabolic, right? It's parabolic. We had a consolidation, move up, consolidation, move up, consolidation, move up, and then crack the trend to the downside. We're in a bear market right now. Point being is the apathy is because the expectations were set based off of hopes and dreams. And now we are in that phase of now we just have to sit back and evaluate and hope that we have the more optimistic scenario of set a macro low somewhere around here or lower, and then start to move on and get re-expansion back to the upside. Because the other side of that, and I'm going to tell you, and this is going to be something everyone's going to hate me for, the other side of that is that we do something like this and we come down even further, we hit lower prices, and then we continue just to go sideways for years on end. And you want to know something? There's really good analysts out there that have been talking about this happening since last cycle. I'm not of that view, but there is that out there as well. Just understand that if you asked me earlier, and I'm going to end on this, you asked me earlier if I would rather be in traditional markets or in crypto markets. If I had a choice, if you gave me a binary choice, I'm not getting into markets at the all-time high. So I would be hunting value. And right now, value is in the crypto sector. It's much riskier, but there's much more value to be had at the lower prices in downtrends and potential for further downtrends if things do break down from here. I'd rather be there so that I can capture more value to the upside if I missed the run somewhere else. There's opportunity everywhere. And now is when you should be paying attention to opportunity, not being apathetic, not being doomeristic, but saying, hey, if it does drop down lower, I have to be here and present and paying attention to identify that opportunity in order to take advantage of it and have everybody call me lucky later. Because there's people calling me lucky from last year in 2025 when I told you on your stage in 2024, Q1 to Q2, we're going to crash. Same thing happened this year. Thank you for letting me just vent there for a moment. I appreciate it.
Tomorrow, I will I will take the belt to ass approach with you, um, and hopefully X will fix whatever problem it has with my account.
I don't know
And
what the issue is. I could
I
not see
don't,
your stream even live when I went to your page, by the way.
I don't know. I
So
don't know. I just retweeted my page. I retweeted the stream 10 times, and it shows that it's been retweeted once. So that's all I can say. That
that's
is all I could say. But you put on a happy face and you continue the show.
I mean, I always have a smile on. Can't you tell?
Tomorrow, guys, I would tune in to this show, episode 718, where I do take a belt to his ass. The only reason I'm not firing back right now is because we have Charles coming out at 1. That's in 2 minutes. As always, Landy. Tune into Landy's market update from yesterday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He came out with that while I was taking a belt to ass to Rob on his show. So yeah, Landy.
You
I
guys
hope
are
you have a
funny.
great day. I'll shoot you a DM to go ahead and let you know how I feel right now.
I will. Look, I appreciate you, David.
I love
I'm
you
looking
too.
forward to your conversation with Charles. Haven't seen him in a little
Me
while,
too.
so
Me too. Me too. Me
I'm su
too.
I'm sure it'll be fun.
It will be.
I bet you there's gonna be some fun, regarding clarity for the audience out there.
Oh, I can't wait.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
Well, tell Charles that the puppet said hi.
I will. The
Take care,
puppet.
David.
The puppet. The puppet. I think I'm more just like fucking fuming with Landy because I was on the monologue. The monologue was fucking amazing. And he said, nope, you will not have a monologue. You will not do your monologue today. I will try to steal your spotlight. We'll be right back after this commercial break. We'll have Charles that comes on at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. That's in a minute. Okay, he'll be on with us in a minute, and we'll talk about a bunch of stuff. All right, we'll be right back.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh, wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's why we build Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. Welcome back. Welcome back to the show. That's right. Welcome back. I just want to show you guys. Where Midnight stands on the G markets. I just want to show you here. I was trying to do this. It wasn't like working for a second, but there we go. Midnight. It's at. This is a steal right here. This is a steal. Hold on. Let's change this up. Let's change this up into. Let's do. Oh no. Let's go ahead and do Zcash. Oh no, just do Zcash. That's right. There you go. If Midnight had Zcash's market cap, you can go ahead and play with all these tools on gmarkets.io. All right, you can play with all of them. Play with all of them on gmarkets.io. All right, we got the legend in the house. We got the legend in the house. Okay, we'll go bring him on right now. Let's go ahead and find the goddamn overlay though inside the mind of Charles. Let's go ahead and bring him on. I consider him a good friend. I like the way he beats the shit out of you guys on the timeline. Charles, what's going on?
Hey, David, good to see you, man.
Good to see you as always, man. How's everything?
It's been pretty good. I spent 21 days on the road. I was in Miami and for Consensus, and then we went to Bermuda for Salt, and then went to London for workshops, and come back, and I get the flu, and so I'm about 3 days through it. I'm almost done. So I'm like, okay, you just got to go, just got to get at it. Still fasting. Third day on a fast. Haven't eaten anything since Monday. So we're kind of chipping away at that. A little low energy, but I took my Wheaties. I'm good to go. We're fired up.
They said that the Midnight. This is true story. This is not me blowing smoke up anybody's ass. They said that Midnight had one of the best. It was the most visible thing or project at Consensus.
Yeah, they track the booths of how many people go to each booth, and there were a lot of booths there. Like J.P. Morgan had Connexus, which is their blockchain stack, and all the other people. We were the most visited booth by far at Consensus. It was pretty crazy. And then I was at the VIP party, and T.J. Miller was there from. I think he was in Silicon Valley. And he's like, yeah, I like you Midnight guys. And so that we exchanged numbers, and we keep sending weird memes to each other. And it's like, man, this is like Deadpool 1 all over again. This is great. But, strange bedfellows. But we took over the show because everybody's excited about a new narrative. This idea of agentic trading and privacy and selective disclosure, and this idea that you can get abstraction and it just works with everything. It's the non-adversarial coin. The biggest thing that we saw traction on, though, was the Web 2.5. This idea of like an open system for Web 2.5, because there's all these Web 2.5 stacks like Arc and Canton and what Tether is constructed and what Binance has built with Binance Smart Chain. But in many ways, they kind of feel like closed ecosystems instead of open ecosystems and extensions of a particular business. And that doesn't really work. Because you say, okay, well, if I am in the same business vertical, why would I want to build on Arc and give Circle control over my business model? Because at any time, if they want to enter my market, they'll just shut me out and turn off my access to their chain, if they control that thing. So you want to have open infrastructure so that everybody basically gets to play. And Web 2.5 is that intersection between the Web 2 and the Web 3 world. So there's a regulated side of the business and there's an unregulated side. And you use selective disclosure and privacy to be able to sort it out. So people are pretty excited about it. Midnight City's starting to take off. I know the guys reached out to you. I can't wait to have a Gokshteenville. And I said, hey.
I waited until today because today, obviously, I'm going into Midnight City. That's it. Ladies and gentlemen, I am going in.
I know you're not just creating an agent. I told the guys that every time you broadcast, I want a studio that represents your studio in Midnight City. There's a big billboard that broadcasts into Midnight City. So you get a little syndication there. But we've already had 1,000 people sign up for the beta. We think we'll get about 5,000 by the end of the month. And we're really pushing hard into like the next layer of features. Like we're looking into agentic trading. Robinhood just entered the game. Binance is in the game. Base is in the game. So there's a lot of cool stuff we can do there. And also, I'm writing a paper right now on agentic civilizations and like the levels of agentic civilizations, kind of based on those Kardashev levels. And I'm going to do a whiteboard video and kind of talk about features of different levels of civilization and where Midnight City can grow and evolve. But we're having a lot of fun with it. We're getting pretty close to actually like it's real. So once we get through this beta, we get the feedback from those 5,000 people. I think we'll be in a really strong position for V3, which will be the commercialization version.
JJ was so amped during the call. It was crazy. I've never seen JJ amped like that in my life. He is. Shout out to JJ.
Yeah, he's the hype guy, and I was like, "You should be the CEO of it." He's like, "No, I got other shit to do." I'm like, "Come on, man, come on, you got this."
No, it's really cool, and I still stand by it. I think Midnight City is going to bring so many people. It's such a great onboarding tool to Midnight. I really believe it will be that. So I'm excited to go in. I seen my agent. It looks exactly like me. Got the suit on. I'll post it up today at around 3 or 4 p.m. I will post up my agent. But I think it's going to be really special. I wanted to ask you this question, and then we'll go into Midnight. We'll go.
So since we're going to have agentic trading, one of the things we'll do, if you want, for the Gokshtein agent, I'll give him $1,000 of free money, and your agent can go and trade meme coins and be a degen meme coin trader, and we can see how the Gokshtein agent is doing every week. So if
He's gonna be
down,
broke living. He's gonna go from having a suit to being homeless under a bridge. I love that.
Yeah, we can just track it on your Gokshtein platform. We can say like, how is the Gokshtein agent doing with the agentic trading?
Before we move on to Midnight and Cardano, there are two things I wanted to ask. I've been waiting to ask you these questions. One, Palm came out with a tweet. He said crypto is dead. What do you think about it? I'm paraphrasing, but yeah. And I seen him go on TV and he talked about it. I don't really stay tuned to it, but that comment itself, what do you think about that right there?
Pomp is the kind of guy that if he goes to a brothel, they pay him to put his pants on and leave. He's never been right about anything. He makes these calls, crypto's dead, crypto's dead. No, we're just in a narrative lull. If the narrative of crypto is the same old, yeah, of course there's no traction. You need a new narrative. You need to do new things, exciting things. The biggest driver of commerce into crypto is going to be two things: the Web 2.5 space and the agent space. Agents don't have a deterministic control layer. So you create all these agents, they hallucinate and they do crazy things. You're like, hey, go do all this stuff. And then it does the opposite. You say, you just lost all my money. Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. So how do you create proofs? You use zero knowledge and use blockchain to create regulating layer and use intents with zero knowledge to actually force the agent before it does something to generate a proof that what it's doing is within the constraints of the system. So it's a match made in heaven using blockchain and AI together. And that's going to be a huge area of growth for us because there's going to be a massive amount of capital that enters the space. And also it solves the usability problem for the most part. It's so hard to use crypto. And there's so many things that can go wrong. There's so many things you can fuck up on. So what if the agent does 95% of that stuff? It's just the other day I installed Ubuntu. And Linux is like the ultimate mental masturbation game. Just like you're just doing this all day long. It's just that's what Linux is. You use it and it works until it doesn't. And then you spend 3.5 hours trying to figure out this trivial little thing. You correct it and you're like, oh, thank God it's there. So it's great until it's not. And then it's terrible. So then you use agents, you use AI with Linux. And anytime you run into a problem, you just tell the AI, hey, can you fix that for me? And it'll crank for 10 minutes. It fixes it. I had this weird ass driver issue with one of my computers and it was rate limiting the frequency on the processor and it was stuck at 800 megahertz and it was super slow. I'm like, what the hell is this thing? And I spent like 20 minutes thinking about it. Like, why did this happen? Then I went to Claude, Mr. Claude, and I was like, hey, Claude, can you fix this? Oh, absolutely. It's a known bug. That's part of this. And I know how to get around it. It fixes it.
Yeah.
So now it's made Linux usable. Linux plus AI is usable Linux. So similarly, crypto plus AI is usable crypto. You don't have to worry too much about the dApps and the DeFi and the trading and which wallet to use and how this stuff works if you have the right harness for all those things. So once we get that sorted, there'll be a mass growth of people entering the space and we'll get another 500 million to 1 billion people. But I guess we're dead, even though we're going to have $10 trillion of assets entering the space and 1 billion more people entering the space. No, the narrative is dead. Ethereum killer, scalability. It's all commoditized now. Nobody cares. Any year we have Laos, and we were the last of the third generations to truly scale. And we solved the blockchain dilemma. Does anybody give a fuck about it? No.
No.
It's because it's not the problem anymore. If we solved it in 2021, we'd add an extra 5 inches to our dick. We can only pleasure horses and elephants, because it's too big. But now today, it's like nobody cares. It just doesn't matter. So you need new narrative. So Pomp is right in that the old narrative is dead, but the old narrative was dead in the first generation. It was a copy of Bitcoin, and nobody cared. Litecoin,
Yeah.
Vandercoin, Freightcoin, Namecoin, this coin, that coin. And then Ethereum came out. We're all excited. Yay, Ethereum. And then the next generation comes out. You have the Solanas and the Algorands and the Cardanos. And now we have a new generation coming. And the new generation changes the game, and it brings a 10x in people, a 10x in capital into the ecosystem. You just got to see it through. And so I firmly believe it's abstractions, agents, selective disclosure, and privacy. And these have natural use cases. Like, do we feel comfortable with all of our personal information belonging to scary weirdos online? Do we feel comfortable that our economic agency can be turned off at any time and you can be completely deplatformed at any time? Do we feel comfortable that most of our lives are going to be regulated by AI and there's no control function to ensure they do what we want them to do and they're aligned with our interests?
Crazy.
Not really. So blockchain solves all that. But no, we're dead. Blockchain is dead. Give it all to Sam Altman and Dario. Let them dick slap each other until they figure it out. It's like, come on, guys.
Here's the exact quote. Most of the crypto industry is dead and never coming back. Eventually people will realize it. So everybody went like, especially me. And I was like, what is this? What is this? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Which leads me into this. I gotta ask, I gotta talk to you about this before we move on to all the exciting things that you've been cooking up. Ethereum. This is one of the things that you helped build. What you were on this show, and I don't remember the exact statement you made about Ethereum, but it was close to what's happening right now. People ask me what's happening with Ethereum. I can't even give you an answer. I almost feel like I think Vitalik shouldn't be in his position at this point. He came out yesterday talking about he's writing a decentralized book or some shit. I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, Ethereum is very disappointing. I got to say right now, it is extremely disappointing. And I know I'm going to get a lot of backlash from all the ETH heads. But you know what? When you have people from Bankless selling off their Ethereum, I'm not the only one that's saying this shit. So stop attacking me. There are a lot of known ETH maxis that are getting out right now because they're a little bit confused. Charles, what's your take on Ethereum's status right now?
Well, they're experiencing the fundamental problem of their tokenomics. So you start a project in the beginning. Everybody's there. They're all super fucking excited. They're fired up and they have tokens. They're completely aligned. They're there. You launch the project. The project gets successful. People divest their tokens and they don't have strong holdings anymore. Then you have these geniuses with a good track record and they're being paid like $200,000 a year. And then you have all these other guys in the broader ecosystem, the layer 2 ecosystem and Solana and these other things. And they're like, hey, come over, work with me and I'll give you $10 million. So then they go to the Ethereum Foundation and they say, hey, can you match that? And EF is like, we don't have the money to match that. You're just going to have to go. So every startup, they have this brain death that basically happens about 3 to 7 years after the startup launches, after divestment has occurred, because the incentives for them to stick and be connected to that ecosystem go away. So Vitalik didn't have a lot of negotiating leverage for his inner circle at Ethereum. Second, you're told as a founder of an ecosystem again and again and again, you're supposed to decentralize. So what do? Do you step in and be the guy and be the leader and like, this is the roadmap, this is the way? Or do you step back and be like, I'm writing sci-fi books and these types of things? You can't win because if you're in the first category, you're always accountable for everything, but you've only been paid once.
Yeah.
And you get hit and hit. And if you're in the second category, you have abandoned the ecosystem. You're an evil person, and all this stuff. So the only way you can get around is have decentralized governance and then have the ability to elect an executive function. And then that person's in charge of the roadmap. And then also create an incentive alignment like Elon Musk. So what does Musk do with his companies? He does crazy shit. So he goes and says, you know what, David, if I can get SpaceX to $7.5 trillion of value and put 1 million people on Mars, you got to pay me $1 trillion. And everybody's like, of course, yeah, of course we'll give you this. Like, it's hypothetical. If I make you like $80, will you give me 20? Yeah, of course. I still make
Yeah.
60, right? Yeah, and obviously sustainable company. So your executive function permits this to happen. If Vitalik is like, I have this new roadmap, and if I can get Ethereum to flip Bitcoin, I get 10% of the supply. Everybody'd say yes to that, because then
Yeah.
it'd be like $2 trillion market cap, and Ethereum will be number one, and it'd be this big thing. And then everybody's rallied, and then he has something to work with as incentives for the people there. In lieu of that, what choices and options does he have? The mission-driven people, maybe they're excited, but are they really excited when they have a $10 million offer somewhere else and they're only paid $200,000? And also, there's fatigue. He's been doing it as long as me, over 10 years, and you got to have like grit to just keep taking the grind, taking the hits, and you achieve all these great things, and then it's never good enough. Ethereum's at $250 billion, and it's got $100 billion in TVL. That is so big. That is 8 times the size of Honda. This is like big, man. It's bigger than Sony. It's a huge, huge thing. So at what point is it like mission accomplished? He did his job, and they're like, no, it's got to be $1 trillion. But he's like, I don't have any vesting in this thing anymore. So why would I take it there? Where's my incentive? So
So
the
wouldn't you step aside and let somebody else who has?
But that's what he's done. The EF is no longer the epicenter of Ethereum in the roadmap, and they have like this federation of custodial companies that like Paradigm and a lot of layer 2 builders and Consensus and others that have a lot of influence over it. And he's just focused on the ZK stuff, the ZK revolution. It seems like the EF has a lot to say, but if you really look at it year by year, they've become less and less relevant overall to Ethereum, and they don't have the money to coordinate an ecosystem that's $250 million. And the problem is that all these things, they're underfunded because they don't get a cut of the action. If you took 5% of the revenue from all of the dApps and DeFi on Ethereum and you gave it to the EF, they'd make about $390 million a year. That's a lot of cheddar to be able to hire great people. Like Dennis Hassabis, when he got acquired for DeepMind, as soon as he got acquired, they bought it for like 600 million or something, and he got like 130. The very next day, the salary caps went up, and they were spending 260 million a year on the world's greatest AI people, and they kind of built the AI revolution. Well, analogously, if Ethereum had a constant draw from the revenue on Ethereum, the Ethereum Foundation could staff up some fucking incredible people, have a very disciplined roadmap, and really push them to magic. And that's a small price to pay for the growth of the ecosystem. But it's a tragedy of the commons. They have no treasury system. We do with Cardano. They have no funding system. They have no system to create consensus or an official mandate. Cardano, we can vote and have the roadmap. They can't vote and have the Ethereum roadmap. Like, who put you in charge in these types of things? So it's a problem that all non-governance blockchains face. Bitcoin has the worst go of it because of the quantum stuff, but Ethereum is now running into that problem that we anticipated in 2015. And I told Vitalik this in 2015. I said, it's a big issue. You're going to run into it at some point, and you'll be a victim of your own success. And I can't imagine how frustrated he is. It's just like, I gave you guys $250 billion protocol. We're number 2 on CoinMarketCap. We're like the big guys. Elon Musk kids mine Ether, and it's not good enough. You're saying I've abandoned the ecosystem. I'm a bad guy and fuck you and all this other stuff. It's just like, how can you win? You can't win.
It's true. I could be hard on him, but it's just that you see Ethereum. It switched from POW to POS. It's just stalled out, and then you see. I get people. Look, I understand people don't like memes. Like, I understand that. But there is meme culture, and there's a lot. We meme every day. You just said you were memeing with a guy that you met at Consensus. Memes are a thing, even if they're not on chain. Memes are a thing. Ethereum had meme culture locked down, and slowly it's starting to get away from them. So and he's always come out and said, I don't like memes. Understand them. Understand. Van Eyck comes out with a meme index. It might tell you something that, oh, you know what? This might be real. Let me look into it. I just feel like he's pushed that, that retail culture crowd away. And maybe, you know what? Maybe Ethereum becomes a dominant figure in the institutional world. I don't know. Tom Lee keeps on buying like $1 billion worth every week.
We're going to fucking crush him with Midnight.
Well, that's
there's no
that's where I was
reason.
going.
Yeah.
I seen the difference. and I know people go like, I don't give a shit anymore. I see how the battle was taken onto the timeline about proposals, what needs to be done, what you need, what you're proposing. I actually like that. I like that debate. Some people don't understand it, but that is real governance.
Right. Well, you at least
In
have a
4K.
say. You have negotiation. You have a say. Like everyday people can challenge me, and sometimes they win. We submitted 9 proposals, only 6 passed, 3 failed. It forces us to adjust our strategy. That's called democracy. And it's frustrating, but it gives you a voice. It gives you a say. You have no say with Ethereum, no say with Bitcoin. This always bothered me. Imagine you devote your life to this thing, you invest in this thing, you build stuff on this thing, you fight and advocate for this thing, and you have no vote or say in the direction of the thing. And then you're told, well, if you don't like it, just fork the code. It's like that's the ultimate go fuck yourself. Like, what
Exactly.
chance do you have to create a new Bitcoin node and get people to adopt that node? You're going to go spend like $300 million in marketing and go to all the enterprises and convince them to adopt this new thing? No, 99.99999% of people can't do that, and they're not going to be able to do that. So they have no say in the system. With Cardano, you buy ADA, you have say. With Midnight, you buy Night, you have say. Okay, it might be small say, might be large say, and there's all kinds of governance systems we can put in, but at least you have something. You can vote, you have some say, you can control the roadmap, and you can delegate authority to people. That's just a basic thing for a system that you're going to put your life into, your money into, and you want some control and direction. And if you don't like the direction, you sell your tokens and you go to a different ecosystem. If you want to, so you can vote with your feet. With Bitcoin, you have never going to have a say. So, if there were token holders, they could decide on a leader for Ethereum. And if Vitalik was made a leader, he'd be constrained by their requirements of that and say, we want you to do X, Y, and Z, but they can't take that vote. So he's just Mr. Vitalik, and he's going to go do that thing. So I'm glad that we have these things because it's really showing real contrast between different options like Cardano and others. Are we perfect with governance? No, we need to update the Constitution. We need to add in some executive function. There's a lot of voting and changes we need to make. Private voting for certain cases makes sense, so there's no intimidation. A lot of stuff like that needs to be put into play, and we'll get there.
Are you going to become a D-Rep?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to do that. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to facilitate. I purposely stayed out for a while because I wanted the ecosystem to build its own thing, but now it's sufficiently mature. I think it's time for input output to step in at some level, but we have to figure out how to do that, not make it bad and disruptive, because I do value the minority opinions and I do value other people's opinions. And if I step in, I'm a big guy, I can easily drown out all of those opinions. And so it's important that we do it in a way where we don't do that. So maybe start a political party, so instead of just me, it's like the Cardano party, something like that. So people can have faith in that.
Welcome to the Breakdown, episode 717. Title sponsor, of course, is Midnight. Stay tuned. And also, Midnight City has come out, and I am going in. All right. I like that. I like the governance behind Cardano. And when I seen you say that, I just might become a D-Rep, I was like, that's pretty cool. Let's talk about Midnight. What's it to date? Since our last conversation, what has Midnight been able to accomplish here?
Well, the guarded period is turning off. We're just about getting ready for the next hard fork of the system. So we kind of had a burn in and a soak period when we launched it, and we got a lot of partners to go build some toy things on the mainnet, and we're pretty comfortable with it. And we're adding composable contracts and a litany of other upgrades to the language and to the usability of the system. And very soon we'll be able to turn on those new features. And when we do, a lot of partners have been waiting for them. We'll be able to come and build, like Monument Bank and others. Monument wants to tokenize about 250 million pounds worth of deposits on the Midnight blockchain. And we've already started discussions with other banks to syndicate that. So our hope is to get lots of financial institutions. And we also discuss with a lot of insurance companies about putting RWAs on Midnight to generate yield. We're making huge progress on Midnight Passport. We just had the idea, and it's really turning into a real life thing. So hopefully we'll be able to show off a lot of progress at Token 2049 for that. And we're making also huge progress on intents and multi-chain signatures. So the abstraction side of Midnight is really growing by leaps and bounds. Nightstream and Starstream are growing by leaps and bounds as well. We went to Eurocrypt and ZK Summit. So we talked to some of the best cryptographers in the world, and we were showing a lot of these capabilities for kind of a next generation accumulator and system in the lattice world. And everybody's really excited, about that. So a lot of performance optimization for the current paradigm, and a lot of testing for that new paradigm, which is the permanent engine that we're going with. So we feel pretty good about that. We're waiting on some Cardano upgrades to come in. The next hard fork of Cardano is imminent, and we'll have one more this year for Laos, and those will start. Those will install the last parts that we need, and then hopefully we can get to the incentivized test net for Midnight, so people can start making Midnight blocks with their own stake pools. And then the hope is that in end of Q4, when the glacier drop ends, we can turn on staking for Midnight. So it's sustained progress where every 3 months get some technology, you get some commercialization, you get some partnership development. And this has really been the beta year. We introduced the concept, the notion. We took it on a roadshow. We got overwhelmingly exciting reception to it. And you just go and build and build and build. And then after you finish out the year, you're real strong. You have a strong distribution. You have a lot of great infrastructure. You have a clear product market fit. You have a lot of adoption. You have great builders. The Night Force is almost at 1,000 people, which is right on schedule for what we wanted. Every week I do a whiteboard video with them, every about 2 hours a week. And we're now getting aggregation points for them, and we're going to restart hackathons every 2 weeks, probably in the summer, after we get composable contracts in. So we'll build up a very large dev base for Midnight, get these people in. The first wave of Cardano Midnight hybrid applications will also start coming within the next 6 months. So basically, they start from Cardano, they build into Midnight. And the other thing we've been really looking into is extending the Pogon protocol for Bitcoin DeFi to Midnight, so we can do Bitcoin mirroring on Midnight. So you have private Bitcoin. What's cool about Pogon is it's mirroring, it's not a bridge. So mirroring basically means you clone the asset on some other side, but the security and custody stays on the Bitcoin side. So it's tax neutral. You don't actually have a tax event, and you're relying solely on the security of the Bitcoin network for it. So Bitcoin maxis are like, this is the way to go. And then you lend the mirror asset to a stable coin, and then you place the stable coin into an RWA. So I'm going to take 50 Bitcoin and run it through the circuit, and it'll go from Bitcoin starting with Cardano to a lending app, to USDCX, to RealFi, to a DEX. DEX buys wrapped Bitcoin, sends it back to Bitcoin. That's the circuit. From the Bitcoin side, it's just a button. Make money. Click the button. And you just start getting a Bitcoin yield, slowly sent to your wallet. You don't see any of that stuff behind the scene. For us, it's great because there's multiple transactions and revenue events on the Cardano side. Midnight's the orchestrator, so it does it privately. So these are the kinds of use cases we're really excited. So, my hope is within 6 months, have a lot of agentic trading, have a lot of Bitcoin DeFi, and just really start flexing those intense and multi-chain signatures, and then start building these pairings, Cardano Midnight to start, but then Midnight Ethereum, Midnight Solana. Midnight XRP is starting to light up a lot too. We have a lot of people in the XRP community who say, hey, we want to build some Midnight applications. Steffi's one, and she's recruited a lot of people there. So I told her, hey, for the next Las Vegas XRP convention you guys do, if you create like an XRP DeFi app on Midnight, I'll come out on stage at the XRP convention and announce it with you. So we're getting some great traction there. And the same for Binance, so there's some good stuff all around. It's going at a healthy pace. It's a sustainable pace. We're solving real problems real time, and we're not letting Cardano get in the way of, Midnight doing various things. Like we're waiting for Laos, for example, in Paris, for example, but it doesn't stop Midnight's progress because we have that independent ledger. And that's really cool. And so we're going to exit the year really strong. And I think 2027 is going to be this parabolic year. I remember ADA in 2020, it was at the all-time low was 2.5 cents.
Yeah, I remember that too. I bought.
Yeah. And then the all-time high was $3 the following year at the same time. So I view Midnight much the same way. I mean, you got to understand, it's like the whole supply is unlocking, and the price is staying stable despite the fact that the entire supply is unlocking. So the dumping is starting to slow down. People are starting to realize there's real value in the asset, and it's coming its other way. And certain markets are going to open the second half of the year. Like Korea, we think is going to be a huge market for us. I think we're the only privacy coin to be listed there. And that Japan will also open up. And when those markets open up, we think there's going to be a huge wave of value that comes through. So, every 3 months, got to get some out. Got to build. You got Midnight Passport, got Midnight City, got the Monument Bank deal. It's exciting. It's a lot of fun, and also just we can bring our partners in and get them to do cool things, and they can enjoy it. And it's not like, hey, pump the token. It's show something cool about what this technology does to help people. On the meme coin side, we have very aggressive plans to bring tons of meme coins into Midnight City. And what's cool is this idea of a shadow DAO. That's very unique to Midnight City. I'm going to write a paper on it, publish it. But basically, shadow DAO is you take a DAO structure, you migrate it to Midnight, you have a private side and a public side. And so you can have founders who aren't dogs, but they behave in predictable ways, and they have rug insurance for their behavior. So you don't have to choose between this, do I be public or do I be private? Because if you're private, you just rug pull and you run away. But you can have a dead man switch that if they rug and run, they get doxxed. But otherwise they kind of stay. So there's all kinds of things that you can do for these things. And we want to bring the next generation meme projects in. And the idea of having privacy with memes is a real cool underexplored area. And Midnight's going to be a big player in that.
Charles, first of all, I got to tell you, man, anybody who, before I move into this question, because I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's funny for all the shit that, I hate saying this, but for all the shit that you get, or Cardano gets, or even Midnight, it's funny to watch the people who shit talk consistently use Cardano and Midnight in their conversations to get engagement. Just wanted to put that out there because I see it. Okay,
right?
Because they know as soon as you say Cardano or Midnight, you're going to get engagement. You're getting more than 50 likes. A lot of you guys don't even get 3 likes. You're getting 100 to 200 likes. So congratulations. Okay, you hate it so much that you use it in every breath that you take.
You're going to take a shot at the king. Don't miss.
And it's fun to watch when you put your belt to ass on these people. But have you talked to some of the OG Bitcoiners? Because you talk about Bitcoin DeFi. Have you reached out to any of like the OG of Bitcoiners?
Oh yeah, I even reached out to one guy who has over 1 million Bitcoin personally. And so he's the second largest holder besides Satoshi. So we know some of these people, and because I've just been in the field for so long. And they're extremely excited about Bitcoin DeFi. They were waiting. They're like, we don't really feel comfortable about custodial. And if we move it to custodial, does that create a tax event and all this other stuff? And we say, hey, non-custodial, no taxes. They're like, okay, I'm listening. And you get your yield back in Bitcoin. They're like, I'm really listening now. That's actually exciting. So there's a lot of partners in syndication we can do. We're going to start slow, a few $100 million in TVL, but we think that's going to grow parabolically throughout next year. And we're starting to turn these things on. And what's really cool about Pogan is it's the culmination of about 5 years of work in the Bitcoin ecosystem to bring smart contracts into Bitcoin. It started with BitVM and Taproot, and that was about 2021. And that wasn't us. It was actually the Bitcoin ecosystem that brought it in. And then we hired some of the guys at our lab at University of Edinburgh, and we said, hey, would you like to keep working on this with us? And they said, absolutely. We want it to be real. Bitcoin needs yield. And so all these Bitcoin guys are like, if the terms are right, the 3 rules are followed, there's only Bitcoin, there's no other tokens, and all my fees and my returns come in Bitcoin. They're more than willing to embrace it. So I think that's going to be probably a sleeper, but one of our more successful products we have in the portfolio. But what people aren't getting is they see ghost chain, and it's like, well, guys, I built the infrastructure layer. I had yet to get involved in the utility layer of the system. There's infrastructure utility experiences. Now I'm getting involved in the utility layer. I'm building dApps and DeFi, and we got that with RealFi for microfinance. We got that with Pogan for Bitcoin DeFi. We're probably going to do a prediction market at some point or do it with a partner. There's a lot of things we're starting to do. Midnight City is another example of that. It's a agentic trading framework in addition to a agentic civilization. So we're just turning on our gigabrains in the company to do these types of things. And, it's going to bring a lot of commercialization into the platform, hundreds of millions to billions of dollars of TVL transactions and other things. So then you're going to have ledgers that have governance built in. They solve the blockchain dilemma. They have 50% Byzantine resistance. They're highly decentralized. They don't get hacked. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they have a lot of commercialization. So what is your excuse now? Well, we don't know, fuck Charles. It's like,
I was about to say, I swear I was about to say that. I swear, the only thing left is fuck Charles. I don't like the way
Fuck
he
Charles.
speaks to me.
I don't like Charles. It's like, great. What the fuck does it have to do with the price of tea in China? It's a if your whole investment thesis is I like this guy or I don't like this guy, you're pretty fucking retarded, man.
uh, Jesus Christ. Same question for Solana. Have you reached? Well, you mentioned XRP. Have you reached out to Solana as well?
We know some people in the Solana ecosystem, and especially on the meme coin side, we're really excited to bring some of these projects over, and we think there's a lot of liquidity and meme stuff to do. Solana has a few privacy preserving projects that they're working on, and what I'm curious about are those intersection points and how we can add value for that. What I've been really focused on are ledgers that don't have smart contracts like XRP and Bitcoin Cash, Dogecoin, Litecoin, because it's obvious, it's self-evident that this is a good idea. When you go to like a competing stack, then it's like, okay, you have to have a slightly different value proposition that's tuned for that ecosystem. So I'll spend some time throughout the summer, and I might even go to a few Solana events and talk to some people and kind of build relationships there to see it. But we've had some KOLs from the Solana space, and they're like, "Hey, we got to do something in Solana." I say, "Yeah, actually, it'd be a lot of fun to do something there." They're just having trouble because their whole shtick was a certain thing, and
Yeah.
it's starting to slow down a little bit. And it's the same for Ethereum. The whole shtick was a certain thing. It's slowing down for a little bit. And everybody's looking for like, what's the next big thing? And every month we see value leaking out of the market. So if you extrapolate it, Solana could be under 20 billion, within 3 years to 4 years. So they're trying to find different verticals to come in, like RWAs. I think Midnight could be an accelerator, for RWAs coming into the Solana orbit. But we have to make that case and show how that would be done. And the burden's on us to do that.
Watching I'm going to name Zcash out here because Zcash has started to move. Watching privacy coins or protocols start to move, does that make you extremely bullish?
Yes and no. First, it's important to understand the privacy coin surge is, crypto bros trying to create traction. So they're heavily investing in privacy coins, and they're pushing Zcash and other things. So it's a good, visibility that privacy is great, but nobody knows what privacy is. It's privacy coin. It's like, what does that exactly mean to you? It's like that Princess Bride. It's like, I don't think that means what you think it means. So you need to have a comprehensive end-to-end view of privacy. And you need to understand the interlocking technologies of privacy. It's like a chain, and each link of the chain has a different capability, like network anonymization or MPC, or the infrastructure you run on, or zero knowledge. So Zcash takes a link in the chain, but it's not the whole chain. And so really with Midnight, we've always been thinking about holistic privacy. Rational privacy and holistic privacy, this idea that you're involved in the conversation, you have a lot of say over it, and you can pick tools to tune your thing in the right direction. There's no reason why we couldn't cooperate with a Monero or Zcash. In fact, we're going to create a zone in Midnight City for Monero and Zcash. We're going to have the Midnight City Underground, and we'll have a DEX for Monero, for atomic cross-chain swaps, and Zcash, and put it there and let the agents play with it. So there's a lot of overlap. We inherited some of their technology. They came up with Halo 2 and other things. So it'd be disingenuous for us to say they didn't innovate. That said, they've had a hard time getting smart contracts in, and that they created something called ZEXE for it. Aleo was first to market with that, not Zcash. And also the value proposition of that is kind of dubious to me. Privacy coins at that ledger are always going to have liquidity problems, and it's just going to be hard to not have liquidity problems. They're moving in the opposite direction. Midnight is a good compromise with dual tokenomics, where you have a private side and a public side. The public side is listed, so it's listed the same way Bitcoin is listed. So it has ubiquitous liquidity, and it's acceptable in Korea, Europe, and Middle East, and Japan, which are huge markets. So I think we have better long-term prospects. It's just we're not in the club. I got to go be in the club. So I got to go put a suit on, lose some weight, go to Silicon Valley, sit at these fucking dinners, and hopefully they don't touch me too much. And, there's some backroom stuff going on there, man. And convince them that Midnight's the second coming.
Is Midnight, because I see like a change in you, Charles. Has Midnight allowed you to have more freedom to just like connect with everybody now? It seems like you are literally on this kind of tour connecting with all the major protocols out there. Like that's how I see it. You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I feel like there's synergy that you're creating with all these other real protocols out there to, I guess kind of bring everybody together, man. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I really enjoy it, because I get to be Mr. Collaborative, from the distribution to how we work with people. There's no adversarial tokenomics. When you're a Night holder, you want every blockchain to work with Night because your Night generates non-dilutive revenue. Your dust tokens that are generated from the Night. If the capacity exchange is trading lots of pairs, you could wake up and get like 10 different cryptocurrencies. So I want Bitcoiners, I want XRP people, I want Solana people, and I want them all to use it. So I want to be friends with everybody. At the end of the day, you can just try to be nice to people, or you can align incentives to be nice to people.
Yeah.
It's just like a marriage. If you and your wife, have a alignment in terms of your career and life goals, it's very stable. If you have a misalignment there, she wants to be stay at home and have kids, and you don't want to have kids, or she wants a career and you want to have kids, or she has a job but travels 200 days a year or something like that. Even if you really love each other, really want to be together, it just naturally breaks apart because the environment breaks it apart. So even if we want to be friends with Ethereum and Solana, if our tokenomics are adversarial, there's no way to be friends. It's sub-zero. So you need to have a situation where I want them to come in, and also by adding new capabilities to their system creates demand for their system. It creates competitive capabilities for their system because they're like, oh, XRP now does all the privacy stuff. It has private smart contracts. It gets it for free. So they become a powerhouse for RWAs and go kick Canton's ass, or these types of things, because they have all the licenses. They're prime broker and these types of things, but they need the private selected disclosure side. So we add it in. They don't have to add all this complexity to the XRPL protocol, and they have it there. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and there's aligned tokenomics there, and people using it pay in XRP, so they don't really feel like they're using a different system. So when we do this, it really does make you a lot friendlier, and it's just a lot more fun to be with everybody. The other thing too is it's easy to integrate against it, and you don't have to pay Charles Hoskinson to do this. This is where I got into like so much anger with like Chainlink and some of these other services. I have to go cut a gigantic fucking check. It's massive, like massive. Like you can buy a home in Beverly Hills and live next to George Clooney, massive. Okay, to integrate Chainlink, and I'm like, how is this an open, decentralized protocol? If I have to cut this giant check, shouldn't I just be able to self-integrate against it and they certify it? And maybe I pay them to certify it, but I can write the software myself because it's an open ecosystem. Like OWS works this way. We reached out to the OWS guys and we said, how do we support you? Just write the code and submit a pull request. We said, awesome. So we have guys working on OWS. They're integrating right now. Chainlink doesn't work that way. So Midnight, no one calls me to work on Midnight. They just do whatever the fuck they want to do, and they can build against it because it's an open ecosystem and it's censorship resistant. And I don't know what you're doing. Okay, it's your business. If you want to have daps with your pants off, you can have daps with your pants off. That's your job. Okay, that's your thing. Guess what? I don't see your dick. It doesn't happen. It's your thing. So that's how it should be. That's what we signed up for in the cryptocurrency space, not these fucking middlemen who extract value out of everything. So we're the standard. It's like you're not the standard if you're replicating the same fucking business model that we've been trying to replace for the last 15 years, guys. I'm sorry, you're not. It should be an open ecosystem. It shouldn't cost us anything. The only thing you should be paid for is a certification that we wrote the software correctly. Even Coinbase does this. Before you get listed on Coinbase, you self-serve. You implement Rosetta. It's one of their listing requirements, and they don't tell you how to do it. They have an SDK and they check it after you've done the work. Ugh.
Charles, man. Okay, Clarity Act. Your thoughts? Is this thing ever going to get passed? And do you even like it to begin with?
Well, I mean, Section 604 made it a little better. There's a lot of improvements to it, but the fundamental problem, David, is that it's written by people that are stupid. Okay. And they're stupid on three different dimensions. First, they don't know how government works. This is a massive failure of the Trump administration. Okay, government is about incentives, bureaucracy management, public-private partnerships, international agreements, all kinds of stuff. So the whole Clarity Act, they're saying, let's go ahead and dump in everything at the CFTC. Do you know how many people work at the CFTC? 700 people for everything. the oil regulators, the gold regulators, the copper regulators, the wheat regulators, and every other commodity. So now we're going to dump on these guys the most complicated, technically sophisticated, fastest moving market, give them SEC-like authority over that market, and hope that as a principles-based regulator will figure it out. You say, oh, okay, well, are we going to double the size of the CFTC? No. There's nothing in the bill to increase the funding for the CFTC. So we're basically giving them like a super complicated thing to do, and they don't get any budget increase for it. So that's problem number one, is it's not realistic about how government works, and it doesn't really understand the time scale and how rulemaking and these other things work. Notwithstanding, also, David was an idiot and didn't understand how to do that. This is an international product. So you have to kind of normalize American regulation with the MiCA framework in Europe and the Japanese and all these other guys. Because here's the thing, when you have crypto and you send crypto, guess what? It can leave the United States. I know it's news to me. Surprising, right? That I could send it to a Japanese wallet or a German wallet. So maybe, just maybe, we should have some regulatory normalization. They say, oh, Charles, we never did that. Well, look at Sarbanes-Oxley. We passed it in 2003 after the fall of Enron. 1 day later, Australia and all these other countries passed an identical bill to normalize their laws with the US standard. 1 day later. So yes, of course we can normalize global regulation, but that would require us to say that we have to work with partners abroad. And remember, it's America first and fuck everybody else. That's the Sachs and Trump mandate. So that's the first plank, is that they didn't understand the international component. They don't understand how government works, and they're giving too much to one agency. Second component is there are things that are securities. And it's okay to be a security. The problem is you don't have liquidity, you can't grow. So fix the security problem. Change the definition of a security to create a digital security, and do it to create the RWA revolution. What I would have done as the crypto czar is bring in Securitize and all these other guys that wrote RWA standards across the whole space, and talk about how you can create a blockchain-based security where anybody can disclose on its behalf and use the blockchain as a mechanism of disclosure. And if you did this, nobody would care about being in security, because you can have the same liquidity as Bitcoin has and everything else. Coinbase can list it. You don't have these broker-dealer requirements or other things, but you still have some controls and disclosure requirements for it. Okay. So then if you have a crypto security, then all these things that are kind of like securities, like yield-bearing stable coins or other things, nobody would really care, because you have the security components, the yield, and you can have two instruments together. So this whole Coinbase fight over clarity would go away. So change the definition of security, and that fixed so many things. And the third thing is, it's not clear how we as an industry have any future say in this. They built no SRO, no self-regulatory organization, no outside of patronage, donate large quantities of money to Trump and he'll put you on a committee. Outside of that, there's no way for us to interface with the CFTC or the SEC or anybody else. And furthermore, there's no tiebreaker between the CFTC and the SEC. I advocated for NIST because they had engineers and scientists, and they could create a bunch of standards and other things to create objectivity in this concept of a mature blockchain, especially for decentralization. No, we can't do that. We can't do that. So, they just cobbled the whole thing together, and Trump just wants to pass it, check the box, say he did something. The problem is that bureaucracy will weaponize it. So when it comes out, when the Democrats get back in power, they're going to utilize it to attack the industry. And unlike the Gensler era, the law will now be on their side. So we'll go from winning the court cases, or at least having a roll of the dice win, to we lose most of the court cases because the law is clearly not on our side. We don't have an ambiguity to fight for. This is the real life consequence if we do this the wrong way. I told everybody this. I sat in committees at the Senate. I sat down, had dinner with several senators and breakfast with several senators, and everybody listened to me. I said, these are some of the things we need to do. They're like, well, just the political process won't get there, but we'll always be able to come back later and change it. And I was like, how fucking contradictory is this statement? You can't change the Securities Exchange Act of 1933 because, it's too hard to change things. But when we pass clarity, don't worry, we can come back and change clarity like a few years later to fix things. You're saying contradictory things. Either these are immutable laws, you can never change them, or they're easy to fix. And if they're easy to fix, start with the SEC and update and modernize that and create a digital security. And you know what? Everybody can have that conversation. It's easy to do. The meta problem also is Trump pissed in the pool. And nobody wants to drink chlorine-filled urine water. He launched Trump Coin. He launched WLF. And whether you love it or hate it, he made billions, and his family made billions of dollars off of it. And every single Democrat says the president shouldn't have done that. And what they do is they look at clarity as a referendum on that. And they say Trump himself must be punished and make concessions. He must be banned from participating or give the money back or something like that. Trump's like, go fuck yourself. Okay, so he's not going to do that. But the problem is you need 8 Democrats to cross the aisle and vote on the thing to pass cloture. So where do you get those 8 votes if the party line is crypto equals Trump equals bad and crypto equals corruption? We didn't have this problem in December of 2024. Trump created this problem himself. The president of the United States should not be, while in office, a participant in the markets. Full stop. We complain about Nancy Pelosi doing it, but then somehow Trump gets it passed. No, the president has special power. He has the CIA. He has the NSA. He gets the classified information. He knows when the wars start. He knows when the wars end. He can make the price of oil go up by shutting down the Strait of Hormuz. He can make it go down by signing a ceasefire. If he participates in crypto, foreign people may buy that to influence U.S. foreign policy. Okay, you can't have the president be an economic actor. He has an unfair advantage. It's like saying, the refs can play football and they can be their own referees. It's crazy. They're neutral. They're supposed to be outside of the game and moderating it and regulating it instead of being a participant in the game. That's common sense. Every president in the history of the United States stayed out of it until this one did. And he chose to come into our industry and use it as the case study because it's the easiest to make money in. And he made billions of dollars from it. And the Democrats are disgusted by it. Privately, a lot of Republicans are disgusted by it because their whole talking points were Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, again and again and again. And they were right. It's wrong for Nancy Pelosi to insider trade with her information. It's wrong. So yes, it's equally wrong when the other side does it. And unfortunately, it created a political reality where the Democrats are going to use clarity as a referendum on those actions, and they're going to oppose it to campaign for November. So
do you think if he would have done it you think if he would have had this, let's say it would have came out with the meme coin after the Clarity Act was passed?
That's what I told him to do. I told the transition team this way back in 2024. I said, if you're going to do these things, if you're going to participate in the markets, you need to create a firewall and do it after the regulation comes in, because then nobody can complain about it. There's no backseas. If 74 senators voted on it and half of them were Democrats, to pass this bill, like the Democrats can't go like, well, I oppose clarity now. It's like John Kerry. I was for the war before I was against it. It's like it's a senseless thing. It's waffling. Okay, so he could have easily launched Trump coin and WLF into the new regulatory framework, and nobody would have cared, because as long as he followed the law, it would have been well regulated, and there would have been firewalls and all this other stuff in there. By doing it before, he took advantage of his political capital early, made a fortune from it, and he left our industry with a very hard mess to clean up. It's very problematic. There's a lot of moving pieces to all of this. And the other thing is he completely disassembled all enforcement at the Securities Exchange Commission for a lot of these things that are scams. I'm not a Gensler fan by any sense of the word. I hate the man. I truly do. I'm actually in Midnight City. We're going to put a character called Scary Gary, and he's going to hide in the, like hiya, Georgie. He's going to hide in the sewers. And if you get too close to Scary Gary, he's going to drag you in and steal your crypto. So I'm not a Gary Gensler fan by any sense of the word. But don't believe it or not, every now and then there's fraudulent activity in crypto. I know, it's a surprise to me too. It's crazy. And so you can't just go and say, oh, well, we're not going to do any fraud investigation, or we're going to shut all this stuff down, or the president does it, it's not illegal, to quote Nixon. It's crazy. So that's the meta problem that Clarity has. I don't know how they solve that. It's not a negotiation at the Senate. The president has to agree to it. Nobody can disagree in the Republican Party with the president. When Thomas Massey got kicked out, and what was his name down in Texas, Corbin got kicked out, and the other guy down in Louisiana got kicked out. What does that say? You are not allowed to disagree with Trump and be a Republican. You will lose your job. It's just a matter of time. So there's no dissent in the party. So whatever
his batting average is 1,000.
Exactly. You say what you will about him. He's like an Eastern European dictator. Just like, it's just no dissent. Everybody must die. So also just think about how insane the Thomas Massey thing was. $30 million went into a Republican race. You have midterms that are going to be very hard to win and keep the party in power. They desperately need cash. The Democrats have a $2 to $1 advantage on the Republicans. and you're going to take $30 million of capital and inject it into a House race that was already in Republican hands and was going to stay in Republican hands, instead of putting it with Texas, where they have a Democrat running for Senate that actually could win, or another race that's very close. You're going to put all this effort in just out of spite because the guy there didn't want to go to war with Iran and wanted to release files on pedophiles like you promised to do. It's an insane thing, absolutely insane thing, and it shows the party doesn't have foresight and it doesn't have a long arc view. The only thing that matters is what's good for Trump today. So what's our future in 2028 and beyond? Trump just handpicks his successor, Marco or JD, and you have to come to me every time you make a decision, and I'll make the decision for you. So every time JD wants to do something, he has to pick up the phone, call Trump up, and say, "What would you like me to do, sir?" Or else he gets burnt to the ground by Trump. That's not a democracy. That's a dictatorship to have a leader like this. So this is the other problem that the Republicans have right now. So on this bill, reasonable compromise could be made on ethics, and we could finally ban insider trading and all these other things that have been going on for a long time. But we're not going to be able to do that because Trump doesn't want to do it. So there's no concession to be made. So I'm dubious. I don't think it's going to pass.
If it doesn't pass, then and if the Democrats do win either the House or the Senate or both, it's all we're gonna have for the next 2 years is a bunch of impeachments, and I already know we already know as Americans, nothing's gonna be passed, and people might end up not getting paid in the government. We've seen the preview for the last almost 2 years here.
Yeah.
I guess the last topic I want to touch on. I know you were out there and you talked about Hosk Health going out. I was because I know you came onto the show so many times and you talked about it, the things that you guys were doing there.
Yeah, so I started two businesses at the same time in the healthcare industry. One was in regenerative biology, regenerative medicine, and the other was a traditional clinic. So on the regenerative medicine side, we've made a lot of great progress. We have some unique IP on stem cell extraction, some partners, and we passed a law in the state of Wyoming, and we're real excited about bringing stem cells to everyday people. We're still making forward progress on that. On the clinic side, I co-founded that with my dad and brother. My dad and brother both doctors, and my uncle's a doctor, grandfather was a doctor, and the family's been in medicine for about 70 years. And what we wanted to do was build a clinic that was a center of excellence that we also could do clinical research from that clinic. So we said, why don't we build something great in Gillette, Wyoming? Now, when we started, everybody told us, don't do this. It's a bad idea. You will never make money. It's always going to lose, because that's the state of American healthcare. I said, there's got to be a way to innovate to profitability. So we spent about 5 years and we built a 70,000 square foot facility, and we have had 22,000 patients. And we put so much work into it. My dad is nearly 70 and he was working like 60-hour weeks at nearly 70. It was real tough on him. And while we got to a point where we were losing less money, we were losing about 1.7 million a month. And so we went to the state. We said, look, guys, we don't have any control over the price side. Demand is tapped out. We filled the panels. Our reimbursements are set by the federal government and the insurance companies. We can't raise prices. Okay. So we're stuck, and there's no way to bridge this. And we've made things as operationally efficient as we can. And every time we lay people off, it created a more toxic culture. People got very deranged with the whole thing. So we really can cut more. And right now, how private equity runs this is they have nurses see people instead of doctors, and they make them see like 24 to 28 patients a day, like one every 15 minutes. And maybe you get 5 minutes with a doctor every now and then. That's the state of rural healthcare in America. Not really sustainable. So we had two options. Do we run it like a private equity group, completely destroy the mission of high quality healthcare, or do we just throw in the towel and set it aside? So my dad's retiring, and my brother's burnt out. He just doesn't want to do it anymore. He's like, I just want to do video games and like work on Nintendos and these types of things. Fuck medicine. And so I said, well, it's a family business. I started this as a family business. The family's no longer running it. I'm not a doctor. I've never run a hospital before. I'm not qualified to run a business like this. And the jurisdiction's in a bad state. Our nearest competitor was a hospital called Campbell County Health. They get like a $20 million a year subsidy from the government. They still lose $10 million on top of it. So
That's
we went to the
crazy.
government, we said, "Can we get some of that mill levy?" They said, "No." We went to the state government, we went to federal, we said, "There's gotta be some way for rural healthcare because we're providing an indispensable service. We've saved a lot of lives." A lot of our providers, if we go out of business, people are gonna have to drive 2 hours one way to go see a doctor that can do this. They said, "No, we have no money for you." The hospital was also extremely adversarial with us. They would not credential our doctors, no matter if we had world expert in ophthalmology. He's created all these procedures for keratoconus. He was an MD, PhD. We poached him from Cleveland Clinic. They wouldn't give him credentials to do eye surgery because they viewed us as a competitor. So we weren't able to operate on anybody. And the only two areas of medicine you can make money on are procedures, namely surgery and cancer. And those are the only two things we didn't do. We didn't have a cancer center. We didn't have that. We just did traditional medicine, primary
Yeah.
care, and the specialties for non-procedural care, which is the most need. We were packed, 22,000 patients. It's 2/3 of the population in Wyoming, of Gillette in Wyoming. So, it was a hard decision. We spent about a year on it. And I said, I'm just going to throw in the towel. I just don't want to run a charity. It's a toxic work environment because of all the layoffs, and it's just gotten very bad. And the families no longer wants to do it. But it was sad because I know how much benefit we provided for the community. There were so many lives we were able to save, and people really loved that facility. It's a beautiful facility. It's got terrazzo floors and fucking vivarium with poison dart frogs. One of these days you got to come up to it. I had an infinity room for Yayoi Kusama in there. I put some of my artwork on the walls. I own the Lost in Space robot. I put the robot in there. Danger, Danger, Will Robinson. I have all this stuff there. It's an incredible facility. And people really loved that. They said, wow, we never thought we'd have anything like this in a small town like Gillette, Wyoming. So it was real sad to shut her down. But to show you how crazy the local government was, they refused to give us even open the conversation of a subsidy for rural healthcare. But then they gave $100 million to a nuclear waste recycling facility to come in to Gillette, Wyoming to go build there, which created less jobs than we had. So
It's wild.
there's a misalignment of incentives, here, and I've never encountered anything like it. But we're still doing the regenerative medicine. Stem cells are very exciting. I love network medicine and the interactome, and I think there's a lot of things we can do there. We're going to push the Peptide Freedom Act next because that's a great blockchain overlap too, because you can verify your peptides aren't contaminated. And so there's a lot of things we're still doing, and we're just going to pivot to Cheyenne and Laramie, which are better markets for it anyway, because Colorado will cross the border into Cheyenne, and you have Fort Collins and CSU and all these other things to work with. So it's sad. And, I spent 5 years of my life on it. I go up every few months and spend a whole week there and work and have an office up there and everything. And, it was just the most frustrating thing. And also all the small town gossip and bullshit. I wasn't prepared for that. 35,000 population town. Holy shit. The amount of rumors and conspiracy theories and other things. I said, what the hell is going on with these people? So that was fun sometimes, but unfortunately it could be quite toxic other times.
Is there any before you go? Is there any plans of another road trip here? It seems like you're always out and about, man. I get it. You're recovering from the flu. The flu is the only reason why you're in one spot. That's all I can say right now. If it wasn't for the flu, you'd be traveling where? Like, do you have quarter 3, quarter 4? Are there plans for you to go ahead and do a tour again or no?
Well, I'm going to go to Token 2049 and
Yeah.
maybe Abu Dhabi Finance. There's a lot of things that, people invite me to, but I'm trying to spend the summer here and up on my ranch. I got a baby bison named Poppy. She's the sweetest bison in the world. We're bottle
There goes your
feeding
new
her.
meme.
Oh, she's great. They've already made a meme coin. It's already
Oh, you
collapsed,
did?
too. It rugged like 3 days ago. You got to catch up with the times, David. Come on, you're supposed to be on this. But no, we got Poppy.
What about
She's
the
great.
girlfriend? What about Nike's girlfriend?
Oh yeah, Princess is good too. That's great. And that rug too. So it's like this cycle of meme life. What comes from the earth must return to the earth. So we did that. But no, I'm gonna take the summer. I need to recover. I gotta lose some weight. I'm a chunky monkey, and I gotta get psychologically back where I need to be. There's like this meditation thing you can do to release bottled up emotion, and tried it a little bit, just start crying uncontrollably. You're like, okay, I'm not going to open these floodgates yet. There's a lot of trauma here and a lot of built up rage here. I got to like have 2 weeks off so I can go do that and I don't die, this process. Maybe go do some ayahuasca or something. I have all these special forces guys, and of course, special forces guys, they can't do normal shit. They're like, let's go take some mushrooms. No, they're like, we must take ibogaine, the most powerful psychedelic known to man, and go to a village and hang from the tree while on ibogaine and see the face of Satan himself. And they're like, you want to go to an ibogaine ceremony? I'm like, no, that sounds horrible. Like literally going to hell and having to fight your way through demons to come back and fight Aboga, the demon of ibogaine. It's like, so I don't know. I'll figure something out. I did the bullet ants, so you're right.
I can't even believe you did that. When you showed me that, I was dying laughing. Like,
Oh, God.
man.
The worst part
Man.
was I did lose the weight. It's like I did all the training, but I got really fat, and so I'm like super fucking chunky, and I put my hands in, and nobody was like, "Well, that's badass." They're like, "God, you're so fat." I was like, "Fuck you, man! I put bullet ants on my hands, man. I got bullet ants on my hands." You know how big the bullet ants are? I actually got some of them on my wall. Let me show you.
Ladies and gentlemen, these are our conversations. These are literally our conversations. I would never have done this shit.
That what was on my hand.
Oh my God.
Isn't that crazy?
Holy
Finger
shit.
for reference.
Holy shit.
And there was hundreds of them in each mitt. And you put your hands in, they sting you for 10 minutes straight.
Did your hands go numb?
Yeah, and the problem is it's a neural toxin, and what it does is it prevents your hands' pain receptors from shutting down. So it leaves them in a perpetual state of firing at the highest possible level. So it's just pure pain. And it goes like pain, no pain, pain, no pain. And it starts radiating up your arms, radiates up your shoulder, it goes down, tip your toes, tip your dick, your forehead, whole thing starts hurting. And the problem is it's like progressive. It takes 24 hours to wear off. So like after the first 10 minutes, you're feeling good. You're like, I did it. The adrenaline's high. I trained for it. I was ready to go. I was so proud. I was like, yeah, guys, we're badasses. And then like an hour later, I'm like, God damn, this really hurts. Oh, well, it's going to get better, right? No. 2 hours in. Oh God, it hurts even more. 3 hours in. Oh my God, it's even worse. What the fuck? 4 hours in, you're like, it's so bad. And it took up to 7 hours before it started breaking down. So by like hour 5, I said, let's go back into the boat and get shit-faced. And we started opening up whiskey. And we just started pouring it straight and just drinking shot after shot. We're like, we're going to drink until the pain goes away because this is so bad. But yeah, about hour 7, it started breaking. And then the next day you wake up, you feel like God. It's just like you just got like jungle powers. You're going around, you can smell ants and you can see further, I spotted like an anaconda in the water and came in. There's like an anaconda over there. Like the bullet ants do something and they give you some superpower. The other interesting thing is nobody got sick for like a month afterwards. So the tribe says there's healing power inside the bullet ant venom. And the tribe never gets cancer. They don't get heart disease, any of this other stuff. So there's something to that bullet ant venom. And, when I have more time, I'd love to go and study it and see if we can turn it into a product. There's like 2 things I want to get out of the Amazon, the bullet ant venom and the Brazilian wandering spider venom. So everybody was like scared of the spider. They're scared of nothing else. No jaguars, anacondas. The spider, the Brazilian wandering spider, when it bites you, you get like a super erection for 10 hours and it breaks your penis. So everybody's like, they were so scared of 2 things. There's like this little fish that when you pee into the river, it swims up your dick and it gets stuck there. It's like horrible. And then the other thing they were super scared of is the dick breaking spider. So every time a guy saw a spider, like, is that a Brazilian wandering spider? Is that a Brazilian wandering spider? So I was like, well, what we got to do is capture one of those things, extract the venom, and put it into like an energy drink, and then you drink the thing. It's like you get a crazy rager. It's like your chaser at the end of the nightclub for the Amazon. But the Amazon's a wild place, man. It's got everything in it. It's like so crazy when you go there, and everybody just is like adapted to it. One of the boat guys is like, oh yeah, I can climb that tree, and he goes over and like takes a leaf and makes a fucking foot break, and he climbs up 60 feet on the fucking tree, takes take some fruit down to us. He's like, you can eat this one, and this one's poisonous. And I was like, okay. And then one guy had diarrhea, and they're like, we can solve that for you. They walk over to some random fucking tree with a machete, and they shave off something. He's like, boil this and drink it. Your diarrhea will go away.
Oh my
So
God.
it was magic, man. We really liked it. I love the Amazon.
Guys, stay tuned for Hoska Rager drink. That's coming.
I was gonna call it Venom. I mean, put a little spider on the can and everything. You know, you drink that. That's some good shit.
You drink it at a conference and you walk. You go on stage. Yeah, I'm dead. I'm dying.
We'll give it to Vitalik. We'll give him the necessary energy to get to the next generation of Ethereum. He's like, I'm so hard right now. Ethereum is, I got such a clue.
I'm coming out with my decentralized book.
Oh,
Joe,
shit.
oh my God. This shit, you gotta do comedy hour. I mean, fuck crypto. Like one day a week, just do comedy hour.
My
Oh my
life
God,
is
I'm
comedy
dead.
at this point, man. I don't know what's going on anymore. You know, I'm a cryptocurrency guy. It's like it's so insane. All the crap that I've seen, all the crap I've done.
If you can
I
make
don't
it
know.
here, you can make it anywhere, right? Like that's reserved for New York, but I feel like in crypto, if you can make it in crypto, you can make it anywhere. Like everybody here hates everybody, wants everybody to lose, doesn't want anybody to succeed. Like it's just a weird atmosphere. So if you can win here, you can win anywhere.
Yeah,
I feel that way.
crypto's badass, man. You know, crypto's great. So anyway, I'm gonna send you some bullet ants. I'm gonna send you a
Yes.
dick breaking spider. It's called a Brazilian wandering spider. And you know, you do what you will with it.
Charles, the legend, the GOAT. Thank you so much for coming on. Looking forward to having you on next month. And looking forward for my can of Rager or whatever. Venom.
There we go.
Snick is already trying to get the Venom pad in here. But thank you, Charles. I appreciate
we'll
you.
put in the snack energy drink if they actually want that. We'll put some.
They just came in here and said it.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's fucking snack that shit.
I'm looking forward to having you on next month, and I hope you feel better and easy fast.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Cheers.
That's Charles Hoskins. Man, I can't. I'm dead. I am dead. I don't even know what to fucking say. I really don't know what to say, man. We'll be right back after this commercial break. If I can click on it.
What first got you excited about blockchains? Think about it. Oh wait. I bet it wasn't multi-million-dollar hacks, exposed data, or finding somewhere safe to store your seed phrase. Was it? Maybe it was the idea of decentralizing a broken financial system. Maybe it was imagining a world where people own their own data and get to sharing the value it creates. Or maybe it was the promise of a fundamentally better way of connecting, communicating, and transacting. The next phase of the internet that empowers us instead of exploiting us. So why hasn't that happened yet? Why are we still living with the same broken system that blockchains promise to fix? It's because blockchains can't keep a secret. Enabling open, transparent systems was only the first half of the challenge. For blockchains to really change the world, they also have to be able to protect our sensitive data when it matters. And that's where we build Midnight, to bring down the final barrier to mass adoption and unlock the full potential of the decentralized web. Let's build the internet we deserve, together.
Ladies and gentlemen, we all know this in crypto. Ownership matters. That's why Cake Wallet. Cake Wallet gives you full control of your digital assets, all in one easy-to-use application. You can store Bitcoin, Litecoin, Zcash, Monero, and many more with just one secure backup. Swap between coins in seconds. No copying addresses, no complicated steps, and even includes Bitcoin Lightning for faster payments. And with Cake Wallet built in, you can use crypto in real life through debit cards or gift cards. Simple, secure, self-custody. Download Cake Wallet and take control of your crypto. Welcome back. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. You know, I can count on Charles to come on here and just be totally unfiltered. I really can. Um that was um that was fun. That was fun. Holy shit. If you missed it, we'll have clips out, and I'm sure others will clip out, and we'll have the full episode on Gochstein Clips at Gochstein Clips on X. Man. There's some people that, you know, some of the people that come on the show, like, you got to talk to them in a certain way. They're not, you know, they got no sense of humor. And then the other, I got to say, for the most part, my guests have been really good. I got to say, for the most part, my guests have been really good. I don't, and I'm going to say this again, I don't believe crypto is dead at all. I agree with Charles. Crypto needs a narrative. And crypto needs a catalyst, and the catalyst is us. I've said that multiple times. We need to stop looking for the catalyst, and because it's like right here, we are the catalyst to go ahead and bring back crypto. But we need to get away from, you know, I don't know. These broccoli heads have made the rules, and apparently we're abiding by them. Like, it's really weird. It's time to take back crypto, and it's time to make it fun again. Really is. And maybe it's time we all work together. Like, that's a concept. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Maybe it's time for us to all work together, whether we like each other or not. Just like, let's go huddle up and execute these plays and make this fucking place great. Yeah, I took offense to that shit about crypto being dead, because it's not dead. It's not dead. Again, I feel like, why are we saying these kind of things? Are we just fucking? Are we trying to schmooze it up with the institutions, man? Like, that was never a thing. Maybe I'm a little bit more passionate about it right now. We built this shit. That sounds like that video, that motivational. I built this shit, brick by brick. Shout out to Midnight. Shout out to the Cardano Foundation. Shout out to, again, Charles, JJ, that entire staff. Really cool people. 100% really, really nice people. No fake shit. Just like really nice people. And I appreciate the way that they have treated me. Shout out to, actually, I got to say, shout out to all my sponsors too. In general, Polymarket has treated me fantastic. Cake Wallet, Vic has been. I've known Vic within this space for a while. Like, nothing but nice to me. Seth came on the show. Hope Vic, we can get him on like next week, so we can chop it up about privacy, Monero. You guys, by the way, let me say this: if it wasn't for Vic, well, and this is all 100% true. If it wasn't for Vic, I wouldn't have gone harder into Monero. And I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about, if it wasn't for Vic, I probably wouldn't have gone as hard as I have gone into Monero. You want to look for a Monero representative? That's the guy. I was thinking about that a day or two ago. I was like, if it wasn't for Vic, I probably would have not gone into Monero the way I have. I would never have. And now he has this product. But Cake Wallet is a phenomenal product. And if you're going to store your Monero and you want to keep your Bitcoin safe, like, hey, that's an option for you. And I'm going to break that down too in a video. I will break that down in a video, man. But yeah, man, I gotta. Somebody's asking me if I'm going to talk about the Bitcoin lawsuit where a guy, or John Doe, whoever, has put together a lawsuit to try to gain access to 39,000 Bitcoin wallets. as lost property or something like that. So that's interesting. Interesting move. Very, very interesting move. Very. You imagine? Do you imagine if they allow for it? And by the way, people are like, "Well, how would he get the private keys?" It's not about he's going in through a different angle. He's not going in through, oh, you guys are going where are the private keys. No, they're trying to make it so that the miners would transfer off the lost Bitcoin. What is it? 39,000? Is it 39,000 Bit? How much is it? I think it's 39,000. See, the 39,000 wallets are 39,000. Hold on, 39,000. Let me calculate this shit up. Give me a second. I'll calculate this shit up real quick. Give me a second. Well, you use G Markets for this. Go ahead and calculate that up. How much is it? Where the hell are you, man? There you go. All right. Yeah. I think it's 39,000 Bitcoin, which at its current value would be $2.8 billion. So that's what he's going after. But again, everybody's saying, well, the private keys. Well, no, it'd be the miners that would have to transfer. I got to tell you, people really sit back and they think of things, man. Like I gotta give them a round of applause for at least. The dude's thinking outside the box. Obviously, this case should be fucking thrown out immediately. What are we fucking talking about? It is 2:24 p.m. 39,069. Okay. 39,069 Bitcoin is what he's after. I wanted to ask Charles a question about actually presenting Midnight to Michael Saylor and see what Michael Saylor would think of Midnight. I think Saylor would like Midnight. I think I need to get Saylor on next month. How's that sound? I think I'm gonna get Saylor on next month so we can chop it up about Bitcoin. I have like a few questions to ask him about Bitcoin, the state of Bitcoin, and I think he would give me honest answers about it. By the way, if I touch on certain subjects, if you're willing to go out and put out a comment, then I'm allowed to go ahead and respond to it, just like everybody else is here. You're allowed to go ahead and respond to the motherfucker. Memes. Charles did say something. I think I can also say that the broccoli heads have made memes stale. And I think it's time for all of us to go back to the real memes. The real OG memes, the memes that are actually building out, that have teams that have been building out regardless of market cap. I think it's time that we return, not to just mainnet, just return to the memes. I think it's time. Have you guys you didn't have enough of this bullshit already? Have you guys, are you not tired of this bullshit? Seriously, are you not tired of all this absolute trash? What is it, 13, 14 years here? I am absolutely tired of this trash. It was never like this, man. I know we're like in a bearish kind of fucking market, but like, we never had this. We never had this. Anyway, quote of the day. It's sunny outside, by the way. I'm going to go tan my nuts. So, that's right. My ass got to go. I want to go out, jump in. What is this? Confirmation. What the fuck is this? Let me find the quote of the day. Man. Man. All right. Where is the quote of the day, man? I can't even find the goddamn quote of the day. Okay, here it goes. Ready? My bad. All right. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I should be back on TikTok. I'll be back on TikTok on the 30th. Okay? At about 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be back on TikTok. Actually, I think it's 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back on TikTok. My suspension will be over, and I promise I will not use language that you don't like. Here it is. There's a beautiful phrase that says, what we give doesn't always return, but what we give is always what we are. Okay? There you go. What we give doesn't always return, but what we give is always what we are. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you, Charles, for coming on. Thank you, Landy, for coming on and talking about, the state of the market. Be back tomorrow, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, episode 718. That's right, 718. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, as always. And on that note, have a great day and an even better tomorrow. Shout out to Akil Patterson. Love you, brother.